Welcome to the TheDPost for All Seasons Sports Show. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Dave Racy once again. And Dave, we've made it through the elements, and the WVU men's basketball team also seems to be maybe finding new life here. If we were having a discussion last week, it would have been the same story that it has been for the last year and a half. They were 1-23 at this point last week against RPI top 100 teams. And then in a stretch of 6 days, they beat Baylor on the road and come back and beat Kansas State at home. Has WVU turned a corner here, or should we just marvel at what Jawan Staten's done, or is the truth somewhere in between there?
I don't know if they've. I would say you'd have to say that they have probably turned a corner. I think because I think they were heading in the wrong direction. It easily could have slid down to where it was last year, and I think that the win over Baylor, especially coming off a tough loss to Oklahoma State, they didn't give up, and then they come back to the big win over Kansas State. And so now they should, that should restore them with confidence and get them thinking and positive. And I was sure that they would have a little more, kick in their step when they go into these next games and believe they can actually win them. They're starting to win the games rather than, losing them.
And that's exactly what happened against Kansas State. It's a 1-point game with 2 minutes left. Same situation they've been in dozens of times the last season and a half, but they're able to come through. WVU has matched its win total from last year, 13-9, and then kind of going into this season, it was what does the team have to show to show that the program's moving in the right direction? What do you think they have to do? Is 500 good enough? NIT, NCAA? They still have Kansas twice. They still have Iowa State twice and Oklahoma twice. So they still have 3 of the top teams in the league.
Yeah, they're not out of the woods, and I think winning record I think would be an improvement. I think anything over last year actually would be somewhat of an improvement, and I'm sure that they'll do better record-wise, and I don't know if it'll be enough to get them into a postseason tournament of any type. But I think the way they're playing and it's still better, regardless of what the record is. And then I think with 2 players that are supposed to be able to help next year sitting out, and another recruiting year, and everybody back, I would think that optimism for next year would be really good. Now, again, it could be chemistry.
Yeah.
You bring in a bunch of new players, you never know, so you can't just say it's going to be better. But if the chemistry's right and they've recruited well, then I would think that there should be expectations to a really good season next year. If but not give up this year. But I just think you say it's a tough schedule, and they got a long ways to go. But I think they've already shown improvement over last year.
And you mentioned chemistry, and I think that's something that Jawan Staten has brought in terms of being able to unite the team. Since Kevin Jones graduated, it's kind of been up in the air about who's the leader of this team. But I would think performances like what he had the last 2 games it elevates him in his teammates' eyes. You've probably seen that with other players too. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's important to have a point guard. When you get a point guard who's also the leader, and they don't have to be a scorer. Joe Mazzulla, I believe, was a leader, and even Darius Nichols and people like that who could dispense the ball. But State can do both, and I'd say as far as taking over a game like he did Saturday, we probably have to go back to Greg Jones, who used to be able to do that with his abilities and quickness and things like that. He actually really struck fear into some other teams, and so it'd be interesting to see how the teams respond to State now that he's starting to show himself, to see if they do anything to take him away. But I think the 2 good wing shooters we have, that'll keep him honest.
You mentioned a little bit of the comparison to Greg Jones, and Staten does have that ability to finish at the hoop, unlike any WVU point guard, at least in recent memory. Is Greg Jones who comes to mind? What was it about Greg that kind of pops into mind? And then with Jawan, it just seems like if you give him a little bit of space, he's one-on-one, he's able to get around anybody.
Same, it's just physical, just fast, and just take the ball and just he wouldn't be denied and things like that. He was just, he was a force. When he wanted to be, and I'm sure Staten's the same thing. So he looks like he's, sort of taking this team, and he's gonna, not want to lose, and that's what you need. One player like that can do a lot. The other guys, I think they've got good complementary players to help him.
Last one, and it's probably early, and there's still a lot of games to go, but interested in how you evaluate players of the year type of a situation. Jawan Staten, when you look at his stats, it seems like he'd have to be in consideration because he's tops in the league in assists to turnover ratio. He's second in points per game. Yet he's on a team that's, just hovering around 500 in the league. So should he be at this point in consideration for that?
I think he should be, but it's like Kevin Jones that year when he didn't get it, and that was ludicrous. And I have a feeling that Kansas that Wiggins will probably get it, or Smart from Oklahoma
Marcus
State.
Smart,
They have
right.
way too much publicity and national publicity, and I have a feeling one of those two guys will probably get it. But Staten's certainly deserving to be in the conversation.
All right, very good. Dave, appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time once again. Please continue to check TheDPost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching again.